Hello, and welcome to another First Chapter Friday. This book is a middle grade to up book, but I'm really excited about it, and I've really been kind of itching to get into it because it's actually set sort of where I live and teach. It's called We Were the Fire, Birmingham, 1963. And if you don't know much about Birmingham in 1963, it was the center of a lot of the civil rights movement. And this story is set just during that time. So I thought I'd share chapter 1 with you in hopes that maybe you'll pick this book up, not only enjoy a good story, but learn some important history along the way. Let's get started. Chapter 1. My name is Rufus. Rufus Jackson Jones, Jr. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, the place Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the most segregated place in the country. Birmingham is the South, the deep South. The South is in my soul. The year that changed my life happened in Birmingham. It was a year that changed America, maybe the world. It was 1963. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, Governor George Wallace said during his inaugural speech. I didn't know exactly what his words meant. I was only 11 years old. I just knew what he said was wrong. Each word that came out of his mouth made my sweet mama's smile turn into a frown. After the death of my daddy, Rufus Sr., hard times had taken away her joy. My mama, Tilly Jones, worked hard at home and even harder at Boone's steel mill. Mama worked in the kitchen there, where the men lined up to eat the good meals the colored women cooked. Mama's brother, Uncle Sam, was the only colored manager at the steel mill. He had a college degree. And white folks looked at him a little different than most colored folks. They showed him respect. Not enough, but more than most colored folks. They still called him Sam, not Mr. Lewis, while calling the managers Mr. This and Mr. That. Uncle Sam had to sit in the colored section when he ate lunch, just like Mama. When he entered the building, he walked in the back door, just like Mama. One day, Uncle Sam and the other colored folks in Birmingham got real tired of back doors. They were tired of hard work and low pay, no right to vote, and their children going to raggedy schools with used books. That was when the secret meeting started. I heard that there were going to be all kinds of protests, but it was going to be hard fighting people like Bull Connor, who was in control of the police. Folks said he was also a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Colored folks in Birmingham feared Bull Connor like the plague. I knew about Bull Connor because I read about him in the newspaper. We could not afford the paper, but Uncle Sam passed his newspaper on to my mom at work every day, and I'd read it when she was done. My Aunt Ola was always bringing me the old Jet and Ebony magazines. That is how I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. My teacher, Miss Smith, told us they were important leaders. She said we were important too. Uncle Sam agreed with them that now was time to act. He was real smart. So was Aunt Ola. They got married right after they graduated from Shaw University. She was a high school English teacher and fancy in the way she talked and dressed, but she wasn't snobby about it. She and Mama were not just sisters-in-law, but they were also best friends. All Mama's other friends worked at the steel mill or spent their days cooking and cleaning for white people. They carpooled or walked to white neighborhoods to earn just $3 a day, and then they rushed home before dark. No colored woman or man was safe in Birmingham after the sun went down. We lived in a place called Bull Hill, a place where the houses were all raggedy and owned by a white man named Smarty Hanks, who couldn't have been stingier. Each house had 2 tiny bedrooms, a sitting area, and a small kitchen. Not one house had been painted since anyone could remember. and a lot of our porches looked like they were ready to fall down. Everyone on Bull Hill shopped at the same grocery store, and all of us kids got bused to a colored school downtown. Mama said when she was a little girl, the folks on Bull Hill had a one-room schoolhouse for the colored children. It had dirt floors and no running water. Come Sunday morning, everyone put on their Sunday best to praise God at one of the many colored churches in Birmingham. Churches like 16th Street Baptist Church. Mama loved that church best. She sang in the women's choir, but every now and then someone would ask her to sing at another church. She would go, but she rarely missed a Sunday at her own church. I feel close to my own Mama and Papa when I walk in the doors of 16th Street. Mama would say every Sunday morning. Her Mama and Daddy died before I was born, but Mama talked about them like they were still sitting on the bench right beside us. They had moved here when Mama was a little girl from a little town called Rich Square, North Carolina, to work in the steel mill. My daddy and some of his folks came to Birmingham for the same reason. Daddy said it beat working in the cotton fields. Mama loved her mommy and daddy with all her heart, and now she loves me and my sister Georgia the same way. I was born a couple of years before Georgia, and even though I like to tease her, she knows I love her. Georgia's quiet and gentle like Mama, while I'm more like my daddy. Folks that knew him always say that he was a lion of a man with a fighting spirit that he left inside of me. I tried to fill his shoes the best way I knew how, but his shoes were big. And first, I had to see if I could even fill the hole in my heart from missing him. I was 9 years old when my daddy fell from the ladder at the mill and died. It was just before Christmas in 1960. Uncle Sam drove Mama home from the mill that day so she could deliver the news to us that Daddy was gone. I hugged her tight on one side and Georgia hugged the other. Mama didn't say another word after she told us Daddy had met his maker. She did what she always did when her heart was hurting. Sing. I can still hear her singing Daddy's favorite song. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on. She sang to the heavens as Georgia's tiny little voice joined hers. I never opened my mouth. I just kept squeezing Mama as tight as I could. When the house filled up with cakes, pies, Bull Hill folks, and more tears, I ran to my room. I used my finger to write one word on the cold glass window pane. Daddy was the only word in my heart. And to find out what happens, check it out. Highly encourage it. We Were the Fire, Birmingham, 1963.